Hey guys, so today we're going to talk about statistical questions, what are they, and units of measurement. Please make sure that you have these slides opened and you have split screen this video with your slides. You are going to type in the answers in the spaces provided while we're going through the notes. All right, so let's talk about what a statistical question is. A statistical question is a question that results in a variety of data points. Okay, so the example that they gave is, how many times did Jack spend longer than an hour on his homework this week? So if we ask that question, we would get a variety of answers, right? How many times did Jack spend longer than an hour on his homework? He could have spent longer on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. He could have multiple different answers from that question. So that would be considered a statistical question because it results in a variety of answers or a variety of data points. The second example is not a statistical question. So a non-statistical question would be a question that results in only one data point. So the example they give was, how long did Jack do homework today? That would only give you one answer, right? He spent 2 hours on homework. So that is not a statistical question because it only gives you one data point or one answer. So now we're going to go through and read some questions, and we're going to determine if they are statistical questions or not. All right, so the directions say, determine which of the following are statistical questions and type in yes or no in the space provided. So I'm going to be writing, but you are going to be typing into the green spaces. So how many people were on the plane that flew from New York to San Diego today? So is that a statistical question? If I asked that question, I would only get one response, okay? Maybe there were 100 people on that flight, okay? So since there's only one data point that will be given from that question, the answer would be no. This is not a statistical question because, again, there's only one answer. How many people were on that flight today? There's only 100 people, or whatever it was. So that's a no. For the next one, do you exercise? Again, I would only get one answer out of that. So that is also not a statistical question. So that's a no. How many siblings does your best friend have? Well, think about your best friend, your one best friend. They only have blank amount of siblings. So that's also just one answer. So that's also not a statistical question. That's going to be no, because you're only going to get one answer out of that. The next one, what are the most popular types of junk food for middle school students? So that would actually give you a lot of different answers. It's not asking what is your favorite type of junk food. It's saying what's the most popular type for middle school students. So that is actually going to be a yes. That is a statistical question. How tall is each student in my class? That question is also going to give a variety of different data points because I've got several different heights in my class. So that is also going to be a yes because that is it would give you a bunch of different answers, a variety of answers, a variety of different data points. So that is a statistical question. What is your favorite type of junk food? That, again, will only give you just one answer. So that is going to be a no. How many pizzas were sold during school lunch today? That's also just one answer. That's going to be, we sold blank today. So that is a no, not a statistical question. The next one says, on average, how many pizzas are sold during lunch each day this week? So you would have a different answer Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So that gives you a variety of different answers. So that would be yes, that's a statistical question. And then the last one, on average, how many pizzas are sold during lunch this week? That would be a no because you're just talking about this week. That's going to give you one answer. This is different than the one before because we said during school lunch each day this week. So you would have to go through Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. This says on average how many are sold during lunch just this week. That's just going to give you one answer. So that is a no. Okay, you'll do more practice with some of these questions on your own when you do your practice towards the end of these slides. Okay, so for this slide, we're just going to talk about some vocabulary words that you would see once you have asked a statistical question and gotten information from somebody and gotten your data points. There's different things that you'll be looking at. So the 4 words we're going to talk about are attribute, means, unit of measure, and observation. So the first word we're going to talk about is attribute. And this is the characteristic that's being recorded or measured. So attribute, make sure you are typing this into your slides. So that is what is being recorded. So for example, if you were measuring the height of the different students in your class, the attribute would be the height of the students. So that is what is actually being recorded. Okay, the next word we're going to talk about is unit of measurement. And unit of measurement is the measurement, such as inches, grams, hours, or whatever. So again, if you're talking about the height of your students, the unit of measurements would be feet or inches. So whatever you're using to measure. So this is unit of measurement. Okay, so we've used attribute, unit of measurement. Okay, so the next thing is going to be, the next word is going to be means. So the means is the tool that's used for the observations or measurements. So for example, again, if we're talking about the height of students in a class and you're using feet, you would use a yardstick. Okay, so that would be what you're actually using to measure. If you're talking about weighing different things, then you would use a scale. So it's whatever tool you're using to gather your data. Okay, and then the last one is the only word that's left over, which would be observation. And observation is the number of observations or measurements. So say you were again collecting heights of students, you've got 30 students in your class, you would get 30 different data points. So the number of observations, or the observation would be 30 because you've collected 30 different answers from your students. All right, so now let's actually practice that vocabulary with some real examples. All right, so let's take a look at this first one. Off to the right, we've got our data that was collected. So we have the days here and then the time spent on their homework. So day 1, it was 35 minutes. Day 2 was 40 minutes, and so forth. So the first question wants us to identify the attribute. So remember, the attribute is the characteristic that's actually being recorded or measured. So what are we actually recording here? We're recording our daily homework. So daily homework would be the attribute. The unit of measurement, remember that is, think about like on your quizzes when we take off points because you didn't put the units. That's what we're talking about here. So what are the units that they're looking at? Well, our units are going to be the minutes that were spent. Means, that's the tool that was used to collect data. So this one, they don't really tell us how they collected the data, but since we're talking about time here, they're either using a clock, they're using a timer. So you can put a couple different answers here that we'll accept. I'm going to put clock or timer, etc. Okay, so it could be either of those, and if you think of anything else that makes sense, you can add that. But again, we don't really know exactly, so we're kind of making our best guess here of what was used to measure this data, or to collect this data. And then the last one is the number of observations. So that's basically the number of times this measurement was collected, or how many times they collected data, and that was 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we have 4 data points here. So the number of observations would be 4. All right, let's do another one together. So this one, we have hours slept and then the frequency. So this is a dot plot over here to the left. So hours slept, we have 1, 5, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sixes. So somebody slept 7 times for 6 hours and so forth. So they want us to identify the different pieces. So the attribute, what is being recorded here, that would be the hours slept. The unit of measurement, so what units were they using to measure this, and that would be hours. This is very similar to the last one. What did they use to measure it? What are the means? And we don't know exactly, but I would say probably a clock or a timer. And then, hold on, that's kind of messy. There we go. And the last one is the number of observations. So this is where we need to go through and count how many times, how many different observations they have. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So we have 16 different data points here, so that would be the number of observations. All right, for this one we have a box plot. So remember what we talked about with box plots last week and how to read them. The first thing it's asking is the attribute. So what characteristic is being measured here? And that would be the height of a cactus or a cacti. So height of cacti. Next, it's asking for the unit of measurement. So what did they use to measure, or what units were used to measure? And that would be inches. The means, we don't necessarily know how they collected this data, but if you're talking about inches, you're either using a ruler or a yardstick. So ruler or yardstick. I'll put etc. Okay, and then number of observations. Now, this is a little tricky. We're talking about a box plot here. And while we can get a lot of information from a box plot, the information that we can get is the minimum, the maximum, the median, your Q1 and Q3, right? You can get that stuff, but you don't know how many points lie in between all of those things. So the number of observations, we can't tell from a box plot because you don't have all of the pieces of data. So can't tell. All right. All right, for this one, I want you to pause the video and I want you to try this last one on your own. So fill out all the different pieces here, and then when you're ready, hit play and check your answers against mine. All right, so let's go over this together. So the first one, attribute, what are they actually measuring here? And that is the weight of giraffes. For the unit of measurement, it is in pounds. That's what that LBS means, that's pounds. So I put the LBS in parentheses, but the unit of measure is pounds. The means, again, we don't really know exactly what they use, but they use some sort of scale to weigh the giraffes. And then the number of observations, this is maybe where it got a little tricky. If you look at this graph, you can see that it has frequency. So from 20 to 30, there were 2 that fell within that range. From 30 to 40, we had 4. 40 to 50, we had 4. So what you had to do was add up those bars. So we had 2 plus 4 plus 4 plus 5 plus 3 plus 1 plus 1, and that would give you your total number of observations, which would be 20. All right, so what you're going to do now is you're going to practice on your own, and when you're going to continue to fill out these slides on your own, typing out your answers. And when you're done, you're going to select the key on the unit plan to check your work and make sure that you got the answers correct. All right, good luck.